Now, our first speaker today, or this afternoon, here is Amit Majumder. He's the head of Southeast Asia and ANZ for Qapita. Qapita's team and clients across Southeast Asia really support their clients in driving growth into new markets. And Amit brings a wealth of experience and passion for simplifying the complexities of financial markets and making them more accessible to everybody. Please join me in welcoming Amit. I'll give you a high five on the way through. There we go. Cool.
Well, good afternoon, friends. So to start out with, I have a question for you. Who likes numbers? A couple people? Maybe more people like if there's a dollar front inside of them. So let me kind of kick things off talking about today's topic about going international by showing you some numbers. And I kind of want to guess like what this is all about. So let's start off with, our first number is 11. We have 675. Number 38, we have 6, and we have the final number of 39. Does this mean anything to you? All right. So let me give you some answers about what this all stands for. There are 11 countries in Southeast Asia. The population in the region, based on the data from a couple years ago, is over 675 million people. Number 38, which may be surprising for some of you, there are 38 unicorns in Southeast Asia, and this does not include any companies that have exited that listed. 6 is the number of funds raised by startups last year. 23, I'm already predicting 24, I think will actually be a little bit better. So in comparison, a lot of you had a look at the cut-through venture report, so you should be familiar with the numbers. Pretty great report. So the number in Australia last year is $2.3 billion. So you can see the scale is a little bit different. So it's quite interesting. And to add to that, it's not just fundraising by startups, and apologies, you're looking at the numbers. We also have number 39, and actually the number of VC funds specifically focused on Southeast Asia that were closed last year. And the total amount raised by VCs is $7.1 billion. And this does not cover a lot of the funds that's been raised for India, Southeast Asia, a whole bunch of family offices setting up shop in Singapore. So as you can imagine, the scale of Singapore is pretty big, and it's a little bit surprising. So my personal journey, I moved to Australia when I was 16, got education, started working, thought I knew everything in a professional setting. Then a couple of years ago, my partner got a job in Singapore, so I'm like, well, don't leave me behind, let me come with you. Didn't really know much about Singapore or Southeast Asia, and was kind of surprised to discover a lot of this. The coverage in Australia about what's happening in our neighbor region is a bit insignificant. So I think it was quite interesting, so I wanted to share with you. And the most important, and the story I like to tell, Southeast Asia is actually home to the world's most successful startup ever, and that's Singapore. So if you're not familiar with Singapore, you should definitely look it up. It's an amazing country. There's more to Singapore than not being allowed to chew gum, and I've been chewing a lot of gum while I was in Adelaide. But it's an amazing country. Obviously, fintech, financial services, Web3 hub, a lot of capital, family offices popping up every single day, a lot happening there. But when you think about Southeast Asia, that's a common thing you think about, but there's a lot more to it. As I mentioned, 11 countries, but there's actually 6 kind of key markets that may be of interest for various reasons. Whether it's to expanding your team, getting clientele, whether going to this region for everyone makes sense or not. I think we're going to have a lot of discussions part of the session going to practical advice, but I just want to introduce you to the concept of what's happening in Southeast Asia. Indonesia, massive market, over 200, I believe 75 million people, a lot of capital, a lot of interesting startups coming up. Massive exits. I'm not sure if you're familiar, 31 January, $1.5 billion US investment happened in Indonesia. Did you know about that? No? So ByteDance, TikTok acquired 75% of Qapita, which is a listed company that merged in the past with Gojek. So once again, the coverage in Australia is kind of like subpar. So I think there's a lot more happening that we in the Australian ecosystem can learn from our neighbors. Because definitely there's a lot of wealth and knowledge around there. And Indonesia is an amazing market if you're looking at retail, gig economy, as well as supply chain, logistics, cold storage, because as you can imagine, they're trying to solve local problems based on their geography. Thailand is the second biggest economy in Southeast Asia. Their retail sector is quite interesting. The consumer trends, if you look into it, depending on disposable income, people like spend their cash on really high quality goods, which may be surprising for some. Vietnam, really strong IT sector. IT outsourcing has been the strength of the economy and the ecosystem is really booming. Malaysia, the government is really doing quite a bit of work to drive that ecosystem forward. Antler set up shop there. There's a whole bunch of local VCs. So a very interesting ecosystem to look into expand. And finally, the Philippines. A lot of Australian companies in the app shop and their support team in the region. So what are you looking at from expansion, investment, hiring a team, getting talent? Look, time zone difference, the country is not too far away. So it's very interesting. So I want to tell you a little bit more about kind of our experience and at Qapita. So we are a Singapore headquartered startup. We started about 4 years ago. And over that time, we've kind of expanded across both products and regions. So in present, we support customers who are both startups, listed companies, and VCs, kind of all over the place. And if you look at the map, the Southeast Asia region is our strength. So, and over those years, we learned quite a lot. So I would definitely more than happy to talk to all of you if you have any specific questions, if you have interest in the specific region. We have a team locally in Singapore, Indonesia. We travel quite frequently all over the place. So more than happy to share notes with anyone interested in this. If you're ever in Singapore, you have friends, Alyssa and I, from the Qapita team over there, come say hello. We'll definitely, take you out for a drink or to a local hawker center. But I wanted to share some high-level insights in terms of what we've learned over the years. So there's a few learnings that I think important to keep in mind. So when you start off with is communication. So I spent most of my professional career working like financial services, some listed ASX companies, US bank. I thought I knew how to communicate and send emails and I'm so experienced coming up as an expert in Singapore, I know what I'm doing. In reality, I've kind of figured out that I have to unlearn and relearn everything because the communication style in every market is a little bit different. You have to be able to build those relationships in a different way. So one of the things you need to prepare yourself is your WhatsApp needs to be on 24/7. And there's no boundaries of personal or professional life. You can expect to get pinged all the time. People expect questions. Different self-communication, something you have to prepare yourself for. The other thing you want to keep in mind, I guess, in Southeast Asia in general, is your service model. There's a lot of really great product-led growth startups in Australia that build beautiful software, beautiful experience, self-service. In Southeast Asia, as a kind of general rule, pure SaaS doesn't really work. People do expect a bit of support element attached to it. So whether it's consulting on top, maybe dedicated customer success manager, dedicated support, onboarding, being able to talk to someone. That's kind of the general trend. And look, I'm obviously generalizing here, but you'll notice is that expectations of service are a little bit different. If you look at other parts of the world, like for example, India, it's a whole different story. But in Southeast Asia, definitely, if you're building a SaaS kind of enterprise solution, you really need to think about the support network built around it. Next is when you structure deals, the way you do it is a little bit different. It's quite interesting. And every market is unique in its own way. So you kind of have to prepare to your taxes, negotiation, striking the deals. Be prepared to offer discounts and think about how you value and position your product. You'll likely, and look, that goes for every single country in the world. You kind of need to be on the ground to really understand the market. Look, there's no point doing homework for 10 years and being over-prepared coming in. You kind of have to go and give it a try. But it's definitely important to spend some time on the ground, to meet the team face-to-face. In markets like Indonesia, when we have the local team, the reason for that, it's very important to build that network, to build trust with the clients. So that's something you can consider doing, and we definitely do encourage that. That sounds generic, but it is quite important for everyone. The level of detail, as well in negotiations, is a little bit different. Whenever you want to strike a partnership with anyone, with another service provider, another startup, if you want to sponsor an event, prepare that you're actually going to get quite a lot of detail. Hey, I'm going to give you $10. In return, I'm going to get X, Y, Z, 3 units of Y, and this and that. So people get to the detail, and it's very precise and accurate, which actually makes the life a little bit easier, but it may catch you off guard. Because in a way, you might be building to, let's have a chat informally, see how we go, like we kind of trust each other, we'll kind of figure it out. If you do deals in Singapore, it'll be like, okay, let's get to the detail, good, let's go. Then you can build a relationship. Actually makes things a bit more efficient, but it's a very different way of communicating, kind of building a relationship with your partners. But one thing I want to kind of leave you with, and that's probably the most important one, is the concept of respect. Similar to my personal story, I thought, look, I'm this accomplished professional, I know everything, I know what I'm doing. I'm coming to new to country with a lot of technical knowledge, it's going to be super easy for me. But in reality, it's like a humbling experience whenever you move countries. I've been lucky enough in my life to move countries a couple of times, And every time you're going to get appreciation for differences in cultures. So Southeast Asia in particular, very interesting region. There's a lot you can learn there, but you definitely need to be able to kind of show respect to the differences in culture, and for you to be able to build relationships with customers, partners, employees, it all has to do with appreciation of the differences, being able to adapt and learn, but also staying true to yourself. So I want to leave you with that. And if you have any questions about Southeast Asia, we'll be more than happy to chat to you in more detail. Thanks very much. Cheers, man.
Thanks, Amit. That's fantastic. I love the